All right. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Thank you all so much for being here. The Compliment King says, listen up, ladies, please. Wow, coming in strong already. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome back to the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. It wasn't for me. It was because I felt convicted every time he said, we're the older women to teach the young. And so we respond to Kevin's videos. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You may know me for my cooking channel. I'm all about food and femininity. And we have the lovely Luke Hazley here. Lucy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Am I muted? Can you hear me okay? Oh, you can hear me okay. All right. I'm Lucy. I have a channel that mostly focuses on teaching Spanish. However, this year, the focus is going to be for femininity, elegance, culture topics that mostly affect or impact women over a certain age, over 50. And being part of, being invited to the Wives Club is something dear to me because, again, um, I have also a connection to Kevin Samuels because I used to moderate when he used to have his live streams. So listening to his voice and listening to his wisdom brings back so many memories. And it's just a great reminder that he was wise beyond his years. And we miss him now more than ever.
Oh my goodness, yes. Nobody could ever replace Kevin, but we are here. The Wives Club is always open to women who have a marriage mindset. I believe whether you're currently married like Lucy, whether you are formerly married like me, or whether you want to be married like a lot of the young ladies that listen to us, you are a wife if you have a marriage mindset. So that's what we propose here. I always say, I realize it isn't for everyone. There are all kind of different relationships, but we support marriage and traditional relationships for long term. All right, so what are we talking about tonight? In the Wives Club, we always pick a Kevin Samuels episode to respond to. Even though he is gone, he left us quite the catalog. So tonight's episode is, are modern women housewife worthy? And leave it to Kevin to always have a very striking title. So Lucy and I will share our takeaways from the episode. I will drop the link, and you all are always welcome to chime in, whether you do it in the chat or if you want to talk to us live, camera on or camera off. As you can see, we've got lots of men in here supporting us. Shout out to the Compliment King. Shout out to the Condemned Man. Shout out to UFO Kamikaze. Yes, long live Kevin Samuels. All right. So in this episode, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin was asking if modern women can simply choose to be a housewife. And I want to take a step back. Lucy and I are both older women. I'm 48. She has shared that she's 57. So we both have a lot of life experience, married, second time around for Lucy. I'm in a long term. So we've seen a lot. We've had a lot of life experience, and that's what we like to pass on here. That's our perspective. So I have been corporate since college. I work in technology, and I've shared with you all, I guess I do work in a masculine environment. I mean, corporate America is just very fast paced and, competitive. And I remember one of my first jobs, hearing how professional women talked about stay at home moms, almost like it was some type of put down or some type of bad thing. And the red thread for me in Kevin Samuels' episode, and just like he liked to uplift blue collar men and men that work with their hands and actually built the world, he had a lot of praise for women who actually prioritized relationship and family. And one of the things I'll tell you, ladies, the older that I get, the more I feel like Y'all can have the big jobs, you can have the big titles and the promotions and all of that. And, my background, Lucy and I both grew up in traditional nuclear families. So we had that example, immigrant families. And I come from, a family of academics, but my mom and dad were still very traditional in the home. So I always share with you all that, I went to college and kind of got caught up in a little bit of that modern woman mindset. And then post divorce, got right back on the program. So that is the first takeaway from me. And I want to really make sure that young ladies hear this, because a lot of times when you're young and you're in the moment, you don't think about, like Kevin used to say, what do you want life to look like when you're 40, when you're 50, and when you're 60? And you're young and you have all that gusto. I was just like you. I was going to change the world. You couldn't tell me anything. But what I realize is that companies, maybe to no fault of their own, but they are going to extract the best from you. They want that bright mind, they want that energy, they want that gusto. You're going to end up making someone else's dream and someone else's family and someone else's livelihood become a reality. And then when you're worn out, either you will choose to exit or you will be exited. It's just the way that it goes. I'm not saying it's bad. I just want ladies to be aware. And we'll talk about in this episode kind of what happens. But that was the first takeaway for me. I really remember how I remember one woman particularly who said, yeah, she just needs to go home and bake cookies. And that's the way that they talked about it, like it was a put down. So that was the first takeaway for me. What would you say, Lucy?
For me, when I see how the modern world tries to consider women that stay at home or are housewives as something not to look forward to, it's really sad. Because again, for me, I think that has been one of the most incredible psychological operations done on women, to have them leave their home, leave their kids to be watched by other people, to go make money for other people, instead of wanting them to be at home, caring for their children, taking care of the house. I mean, what a different the world would be if women decided to say, no, we're staying home, we're caring for our family and our children, and you men go out there and do what you need to do. So again, Kevin was right. I mean, we are giving, in the modern world, women are asked to give your best years to somebody else, to another man, rather than your own man, and not to think about taking pride of having a family and having the nuclear world, taking care of your children, teaching your children. It's something completely odd that is probably has hit the modern world for the past, I want to say, 40 years or so.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I see you all in the comments, so we will bring you into the conversation. Hello to everybody. Thank you all for liking the live stream. We appreciate that. Fem Jim says, yes, they're treated like second-class citizens. Mothers deserve much more respect. And the Condemn says that companies do care about their bottom line, not ours. That's the biggest thing for me, ladies. It's like, look, everything is an option for you. We live in the time of the world where you can choose whatever outcome that you want. I just want young ladies, especially our young ladies, to choose wisely, because if you, hopefully you learned it at home from your mother, but if you didn't, that's why, we are here to share. But I remember getting so kept swept up in the promotion and the new missions and leadership changes and all the things that come with that, and you really do believe that you're making a difference, but you're making a difference for someone else. So I just want ladies to think about that. You are going to work. We're not here to just be in any lap of luxury. We are going to work. I just want you to choose, do you want to put your best efforts into your own family or someone else's family? The second takeaway for me, kind of in that same vein, I remember women being talked about, women who weren't in this corporate jungle being talked about. And I am still working in corporate America, so I have experience from that end. But one of the things that Kevin Samuels always used to say is, ladies, we need to learn how to either choose or do both. You don't get a pass. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. And in this episode, if you listen to it, he was admonishing one of the callers and asking her, why is it women from other cultures know how to work, but also be a wife and mother at home? For some reason, in modern times, it's kind of like, well, either I'm going to be a boss babe or I'm going to, in your mind, kind of sit back and have a nanny. And what, none of that is real. The real world is you contribute to your family. Now, it's different for different people. You may work part-time, you may work full-time, but the family is always the priority. And for me, what saddens me the most is when women get to our age and it was either an afterthought. There was an attorney in this episode, and it was so sad. She was in her 30s and he was asking her questions, and she was just like, I never thought about marriage. And he actually asked her if she had gotten, just a good checkup from the doctor, because that seemed very abnormal. One of the things I know about modern culture is that they almost beat that feminine instinct out of us women. Like, you shouldn't cry, you should be tough, you shouldn't want a family, you should be able to like drop them off and just be okay. So I always want women to be true to who they are. So the second point for me in this is that, ladies, being a wife and mother is a full-time job. It is not an escape from reality. It is not you're sitting at home watching TV and someone else is magically cooking and cleaning. Kevin was telling one of the callers that to be a wife and mother, especially when your kids are young and you got to get them up and get them dressed and go to school, even if you don't have children, if you're trying to make sure that, your husband is taken care of, the house is run like a well-oiled machine, it is work. And if you talk to most men who had a traditional upbringing, they have such high praise for their mothers who made sure they were at the sports events, who made sure they got the doctor's appointments. Dad was doing what he was doing, bringing, slaying the dragons, but mom made sure everything was okay. So I want ladies to think about that it's not like, it's not less than, and it's not a free pass to just kind of sleep in all day. You are going to work. You may even work harder at times, but I promise you it will be more fulfilling than anything that you've done. And this is coming from someone who has a lot of accolades on paper. Nothing fulfills me more. Even when I'm tired at the end of the day from cooking and all the things that I do, the joy that I have taking care of my family surpasses any big promotion and any bonus I've ever gotten. What would you say to that, Lucy?
On that, I remember, my mom and dad, they made sure that from the beginning, they tell us, when they're talking about how they decided that my mom was going to be a stay-at-home mom and my dad was going to be the one that worked out there, that, my mom said it was really hard. Sometimes there wasn't enough money to do the things that other kids were doing because their mom and dad were doing things. But, we did without some of the stuff, but she was always there. And I can tell you that anytime I think about my childhood or anywhere, whether it was in Nicaragua, Venezuela, here in Florida, in Virginia, anywhere, my mom was a constant at home. So again, we did have some really challenging times, but we saw that my mom was always there to support my dad, but she was always at home. She always made us do chores and do other things, but she was there. So there is a difference when you have a stay-at-home mom that is there all the time watching every single thing you do, as opposed as to having your mom working and you're dropped off at daycare or at a high school or at school without that constant there. So yeah, I mean, um, my mom, she did her, she cooked, she cleaned. Of course, we helped her do all that work. Again, she taught us how to do those chores, and we learned how to be housewives because she taught us while she was there. She gave us chores, and we did what needed to get done to have the house ready for when my dad got home.
Absolutely. I see you all have some questions. I'll star the questions and then we'll answer those at the end. I've got one more point, but I'll bring in a couple comments here. Lisa says, it's more than a full-time job. You're truly never off duty from the time they are born. Even when they are grown, they need you in a healthy way. Yes. We've got OK Tata watching from Japan. Thank you so much for being here. Good Saturday morning to you. She says, I agree with all that was said. I'm Russian and I was raised in 90s Russia. All the women worked and also had families and kids and husbands. Women were doing it all. I want to park there for a minute and I want to give you all a little insight into my upbringing. And Lucy has done the same. So you all know that. Or if you don't know, I come from an immigrant family born in Ghana, which is in West Africa. My parents came to the US for education. And I remember the example that was in front of me, and that was the key takeaway. If you watch this episode, the point that Kevin was trying to make is that if you did not get the example at home when you were raised, ladies, you're already behind. And the thought that I'm just gonna spend my 20s or maybe even my 30s, do what I want to, turn around and say, okay, I'm ready, come rescue me from myself, you're not going to be able to just do it that easy. So I'll give you all a little bit of a story time. So my parents came to the US, and like most internationals, they had to pay out of school, out of state tuition, which was much more expensive. I think 3 times as expensive. And I remember they could only go to school every other semester. So like mom would go to school and my dad would work, and then they would switch, and my dad would go to school and then my mom would work. And so it took them a long time. Both of my parents have PhDs, so I did grow up in academia. But even while working, even while being graduate students, when we came home from school, you all have heard me say Maggie in the kitchen, right? Like it was just part of my upbringing. And also I remember when dad would come home from work, my brother and I weren't just allowed to like, dad, dad, dad. Y'all know how kids are. Like my mom made sure the food was ready. My brother and I knew to let my dad kind of decompress from work, let him have his meal, change out of his work clothes, refresh himself. And then, if he was eating with us, she had me serve my father. She had me clear the plates. She had me doing the laundry. By the time I was 13, I was cleaning a house from top to bottom. I just thought this was normal. So even on top of that, having good grades and whatnot. So it's not like, oh, I just woke up like this. It was part of the fabric of my upbringing. So even though, I graduated and I went to college and got these big degrees and whatnot, and I thought, oh, I'm this big, powerful whatnot, it was still the foundation of who I am. So when you fall back on your like, oh, okay, bump my head, that's not what I want to be, I had the training. And so that's the point that I want to make here. If you grow up in that environment, you are learning without knowing that you're being taught, because we all copy what we've seen by default. That could be good or that could be not good. So ladies, you have to know that if whatever family you were born into did not give you that foundation, in this episode, you'll hear Kevin say, you need to seek that out. You need to find older women or women you can relate to, or take a class or do something, because you are not on equal ground. You're actually behind. So that was the thing. Now, if you have the type of upbringing where everybody kind of fend for themselves, and it's just like maybe mom was always gone and working or whatnot, and you learned how to go out there and be a go-getter and whatnot, that's fine. But you did not get the I guess the homemaking or the wife skills that you would need if you want the type of provider man that most of us want. So you can do both at the same time. It is doable, but I just wanted to share that because a lot of women just think from the outside looking in, oh, all she does is just, run errands all day. No, it is a lot of work and it is nonstop work. So that was that was just something that I wanted to share. Lucy, what would you say?
I agree. It's something that if you didn't have it, it's like you said, it would be something that women, young women, should be looking for, whether it's training, whether it's a neighbor that you see that has that nuclear type family environment. Ask around. How did you do it? How were you able to afford being a stay-at-home mom while your husband was out there working? So again, but if you want to do that, that's great. And again, there are men that are okay with a woman working and having the 50-50 share of the work. But in traditional environment, the woman, even though she goes out there, she comes home and does the chores, does the laundry, cleans the house, does the dishes, cooks. And you know what? And for me, it's a pleasure. I get upset if I see my husband cleaning the bathroom because he wants to help me. I don't like it because that's not what he does. And he wants to do it because, he wants to help. But for me, it's kind of no, I'm the woman of the house. I'm supposed to be doing that. Let me do it. And then he goes out and he does when it's raining, he doesn't know what to do with himself. That's where he starts finding things to do in the house. But for the most part, even if you do work outside, you are prepared to do the work at home.
I love that. And I love the fact that you take pride in that. We will bring you all's questions in now. Okay, Tata says, kids were helping a lot in the house. Women teach the daughters, fathers teach the sons. It was normal. I love that. And that is so true. And I think in modern times, we've gotten away from that. I don't know if I was listening to Chantel Simone earlier, but it is so true, ladies, that I think the children learn from the young women learn from the older women, and the older women have learned from the men. So, like I said, I didn't even know what I was doing, but my mom taught me to watch while my dad was eating. And once he moved his plate over to the side, Maggie, go get the plate. And I still do that today for my men, not even thinking, it's just instinct. So, yes, again, take pride in it, ladies. If this is something that you want to do, know that the world that we live in is going to maybe make you feel like you're less than, but at least in this space and in the community that we have high praise for women. Some women may want to do both. Like Lucy said, we both work, but whether we work hybrid or we work at home so that we are able to better provide, in our families, our best efforts are more valued, when we're home and close to home, and it's a joy for us. You can choose, and I love to encourage young ladies. We had one in our class last time that knew she didn't want to do the college and, big career route. She wanted to get started on a family early and prioritize that. And so just know that you absolutely have it's an amazing choice if you're able to exit out of a lot of this. Because here's the last takeaway, and then I'll go to you all's questions. What you will find, and this is what Kevin talks to a lot in this episode and others, for whatever reason, women postponed prioritizing marriage and family. They got out there and got these big jobs and weren't able to or didn't choose to do both at the same time. All they knew was work. They were basically just machines. And the way my man would say, it's almost like their growth was stunted in the relationship sense. Then what happened and what will happen, ladies, young ladies, hear me, you will get to 30 and 35, God help you if you get to 40. Please find me any woman 40 plus that is raving about her career and loving getting up at 6 and can't wait for that commute and just can't wait to stay late and all those things, we will naturally slow down. Then you're going to start looking for an escape. And that escape is, okay, I'm ready now, make me a housewife. And the man is like, what have you done that I can take that risk that you are going to be able to run a well functioning home? And so, ladies, if you have not shown up in a way that is beneficial in that role that I'm going to say you're ultimately going to want, it's going to be much more difficult for you. So that's what we want to share with you all now. Oh my goodness, let's see who's all in the chat. All right, let me go back. I saw a question from FemGems, and then we will come back. Yes, Lucy is awesome. We love Lucy. I love Lucy. All right, so FemGems has a question. So she says, so say you've made the shift and want to prioritize relationship and marriage and not a career-oriented person. Decide to be in order. What do you suggest we do in our meantime? Okay, if I'm understanding the question correctly, so for young women who know that you want marriage and family and you know you want it young, the first step, what was it, He-Man or one of them, knowing is half the battle. Once you know that, be confident in saying that to everybody and anybody, because you are going to be swimming upstream. And it doesn't have to be an argument. It doesn't have to be a fight. It could be something like, career in corporate America is not really where I see myself. I've always wanted to be a wife and mother, and I would rather start now than later. It could be something like that, right? Then the second thing is you have to date with intention. One of the things that I see a lot of young ladies do, because let's face it, and I'll put myself on the hot seat, Kevin was scolding us in this episode, the older women are not teaching the young women. The older women are actually telling the young women, girl, you need to go live, you need to go out there and have that hot girl summer and get that career and don't. And so the women, you've been given the wrong information by most of society and older women. So you want to date with intention, exclusively the caliber of men that are ready to be the provider type man that you can be a support system to. And if you listen to this episode, Kevin said, young ladies, your husband is not your age. We've talked about this, and Kevin has talked about this. Lucy and I both married older. Men just take longer to get to a point where they can take on that responsibility. And so if you are going to be dating for marriage, you need to have someone helping you vet, hopefully a father, an uncle, somebody that you respect who can help you choose wisely and help pair you with someone who wants the same thing that you do. And then the last thing I will say, young ladies, while you are waiting to be selected for marriage or proposed to, every opportunity you have to learn and to serve, you need to do that. Ladies, men fall in love with us over time by who we are to them and what we do for them consistently. So I want young ladies to think about the word usefulness. Forget the cute face, forget the size 4 dress, all of that is great. But if you are not useful, if you are not showing up like, okay, you handle this part of the household, I've got this. So whether it is serving, volunteering, cleaning up, just doing things that show this is a skill set that I'm ready on day one to be of service. So those would be my tips. What would you say, Lucy?
And I would also look for positions, receptionist, executive assistant, somewhere where you also are useful out there. If you live on your own, you need some type of job to provide for yourself. But don't get into this quest about being a manager, the CEO of something like that, because again, the higher you go, the lesser of a chance you're going to focus your your self development into becoming a mom or a housewife. My first husband, he was 9 years older than I was. I was a receptionist when he first met me, and then again, um, we got married, and then he wanted me at home, and you know I already had those home skills from my mom. My current husband, he's 9 years older than I am. He met me when I was the executive assistant for a huge board of directors. So again, you don't have to have that one career. You can have a job, but while at the same time you have the job, men are going to be watching whether you're fit, feminine, and friendly. They're always watching. Again, you know, um, I think I've told my story about my husband used to watch me. He, I met him at this vending machine because he was watching me for a long time, and he started the conversation. It's important to be out there. Don't be on YouTube or TikTok, because you're wasting that time where you could be meeting someone out there, learning conversation skills, learning skills to flirt and to look at a man a way that will say to them, yeah, I'm available, and to start a conversation. Again, YouTube, social media, if you keep your time focused in social media, you're wasting a lot of time where you could be out there at the gym, at the grocery store, volunteering, uh, 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 doing other things out there, socializing with people, with actual people, not virtually.
I absolutely love that. And I'm going to give a little virtual spanking here too for the young ladies. But one thing that Lucy said about the age difference and not chasing after the career, we're not saying not to work, but ladies, especially young ladies, I want you to forget this myth of the power couple. My man will tell you CEOs do not marry CEOs. It is no accident that men, like Lucy was an executive assistant, they like school teachers, receptionists, waitresses, hostesses. It is not by accident that they are drawn to women that are already nurturing, are already catering, are already taking care in some kind of way. So when you have big boss type of job, or when you lead with that, it's kind of like, oof, she's a wild stallion. Do I want to wrestle that one to the ground, or do I want to, find one that's already like, sure, I'll help you with that. The other thing about social media, and look, social media is a great tool. Lucy and I are here all the time sharing with you all. The difference is we are two older women already in long-term relationship and marriage, and we are now giving back. We have lived our lives. You all may know that we have a finishing school that we run. I also do consults and coaching outside of YouTube. And one of the things that I told one of my consults recently is, you're going from channel to channel and watching everything and just absorbing, consuming. I'm not telling you not to watch. I'm not telling you to turn it off. But at some point, ladies, especially young ladies, when you're in your prime, you need to learn something and go implement. Learn something and go implement. So it's not just about like sitting here. Okay, now tell me what else. Now tell me what else. Now tell me what else. Because you are wasting prime years. So I'll give you all a little tip that I told her. If you're a natural introvert and it's difficult for you, maybe put a dress on and just go somewhere by yourself. It could be, a gardening class or whatever, and just practice walking into a room, slowing down, making eye contact, smiling, and doing whatever your task and finishing. That could be a check in your box, because like Lucy said, you need to make yourself, we talked about that friendly, that nurturing, that inviting. But if you just sit behind, these spaces, the man of your dreams is not going to come knock and say, where have you been all my life? So ladies who are in your prime, just be careful about wasting so much time being in these spaces. We will be here. The internet will be here. You can catch us on the replay, but go out and put into practice what you've learned. I love what the compliment king says here about the same as Lucy's husband would feel frustrated if he saw her messing around the car hood. Yes, ladies, masculine men, they want the best for us and they observe us and they know the things that make us happy and they know the things that make us frustrated even when we don't. I've shared with you all the pandemic story. I had this big job and I came home for 2 weeks to figure it out and I didn't realize how happy I was. And he was like, you sure you want to go back to all of that? I was like, what? Yes, no, yes. All right. So Selena's talking about, well, if you're not in a relationship, we should work. One thing I want to say about this is, ladies, we are all going to work. I don't want us to look at being a housewife as not working. It is a lot of work. And yes, to Lucy's point, you can get some work experience. But one other piece of advice I would give is, ladies, be intentional about the type of jobs that you choose and the types of skills that you develop. Make sure they're the type of skills that will benefit your family. If you want marriage and children, if you want to, saddle up and ride out until you're 65 and be one of the boys, please have at it. I am not going to fight you. But what I know after talking to countless women is that in your 30s and 40s, you're going to be looking for somebody to rescue you. So don't wait. Choose wisely. The Condemned says housewives are not less than. Yeah, shout out to the wives. KM Hart says, I was never taught any of this. Oh, that breaks my heart. But I'm so happy that you're here and that you're learning now. Lucy and I are making our little drop in the bucket. Uh-oh, the intentional quiet storm. Ugh, another spanking. He says, women better get off social media and go outside if they want to find a good man. YouTube does nothing for your social life. Yes, ladies, I think the reason why, I want to choose my words wisely, but I think the reason why Lucy and I are able to, or women like us, it doesn't have to be us, let's learn from somebody, but like Tata said, like women taught the younger women. And it's not just because I'm older. I can be older and just as, immature, but it's the life experience that we have that we speak from. So when you want to learn from somebody, make sure they're at least living the type of life or have done the type of things that you want to do. A lot of times we idolize or look at women who are living what they say, boss babe lives, and that's not you. So just be, consider the source. Consider the source. Aaron Laura is saying 100%. Yes, absolutely. The intentional quiet storm says you are in your prime years in these chat rooms, wasting your prime marriage and childbearing years. Oh dear. Okay, I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions. 5 to 8 years. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this. It could be anywhere. I think my ex-husband is 7 years older than me. And one thing I'll say about the age difference, I was talking to one of my other consults. Ladies, don't think there's anything wrong with dating a few years older. Men don't hit their financial stride until at least 40. Being a boy mom, we have 2 teenagers and it's going to be a while before they get it together. If you think of any teenage or 20-year-old young man, some days you're just like, I don't think we're going to make it. But something happens, ladies, and I want to make sure that you're aware of this. When we are in school together with boys and we grow up together and we just think, I'm just like you. But nature and biology will not be defeated. I don't care what anybody says. What happens is, as women, we mature in our teenage years. We can run a house. We've developed physically. We know how to conduct ourselves. Young boys are still, getting it together. But what happens, ladies, if you think that's always going to be the case, you take your eye off the prize. And what happens is we get to our 20s, we get to college. God forbid, if you're out here hot girl summering, you have the leverage, everybody wants your attention, and you think it's always going to be that way. And that young man that you blew off because he didn't have whatever you thought he needed to have at that time, and he probably didn't. He puts his head down. He goes into monk mode. He either gets a job, a trade, goes into service, whatever he does. Something happens at 30, and now you're starting to get tired because all these years of working or carousel or whatever you've been doing has not served you. And then you pop up and he is well on his way. He's filling out, he's in his masculine frame, and now he is, full steam ahead at becoming the man. Then he becomes 35 and 40. He's had a good 5 to 10 years in whatever field he's chosen. Now he has made himself and he's ready and he's looking and he is not going to wait for you to get on the program. And that's why a lot of times women get surprised because a man will pop up and be like, let's go. And it can be kind of like, whoa, where did that come from? But it took him so long to arrive at the man that he is. And so ladies, I just want you to be aware of that. Number one, dating older, you're going to have a better time with someone who's already where you want them to be. And do not discount the man on his journey. You all know my story. I fell in love young. He wasn't ready. I moved on. I got married. Life brought us back together. But on his own, he had to become the man that he is now. What would you say to that, Lucy?
Yeah, and for me, I'm biased because, I always liked older men because again, I saw kind of like my dad on those men, the examples that my dad had for us in the family. Then I looked to, something similar to the man I liked, and usually they were older than me. And again, older men have that refined style. They understand how to be chivalrous. They have been around and they can show you the world when you are just fresh out of in life. So again, there's something so, at least for me, so precious about an older refined man that, yeah, maybe a younger 2 3 older than you man could offer. But again, for me, I liked that more refined, more mature, um, self-made man.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got a question in here. I'm trying to star them as I'm reading them. So Celine says, what are your thoughts on the quote, men don't marry for love, they marry the woman in front of them? So I'm going to respond to this, and I want to talk about this word love, ladies. And one thing that will really help you, especially young ladies, is to realize that to men, love is respect. Full stop. The Disney emotion of love that we women feel, and it's real. I'm a girl just like y'all. I want, the birds to fly down and put a dress on me just like Snow White. I get it. That is not how men experience love. Again, men fall in love with us over time, and you cannot shortcut that time. Ask a man who's had a wife for 10, 15, 20 years, the way he describes that woman and what she means to him. Try and get that from someone who's known you for 6 months. It's not going to happen. So you cannot discount the time. Men fall in love with you over time by who you are to them and what you do for them consistently. So remember, yes, fit, feminine, and friendly, but your looks and all of that, men know we're going to age, and we know they know, the beauty may fade a little bit, but those inner qualities never age. So to answer your question about men don't marry for love, we need to be useful to men. All right. So don't think about men thinking about emotional love the way that we do. They marry the woman in front of them. It may look like that to us, but if you've been watching this content, you know that men are always watching, ladies. And from our perspective, it's like he wasn't doing anything and he just picked up somebody like that. The men have been watching the whole time, and they have put us in categories: wife material, not wife material. That is why it is so important to choose wisely and to carry yourself as a wife or potential wife even before you're married. This thing about I'm going to live my life and then, oh, I'll submit when, oh, I'll get on the program when, oh, I'll be agreeable when, it's not going to fly because you've already disqualified yourself. So a man will observe, he will wait and watch for consistency. When he has his beliefs verified, either that you are a wife or not a wife, he will move. So to you, it looks like he just grabbed the person in front, the woman in front of him, but he was watching the whole time. What would you say to that, Lucy?
Exactly. And it's really interesting because I even see it in some of the chats here that some men are watching some of these ladies comment and be in here and be there and everywhere. So again, men watch us. And I don't know, I guess that's also, it's great because those are the men that are probably going to um, stick up for us when they know that you have that character. And and that's what matters. That's what you want men to be able to protect you when it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. In this community, I mean, you can see in the ticker, the Wives Club is supported by men. And Lucy and I both have our own channels, and the men are always watching and they tell us. And every time a man supports or provides or protects or anything in our spaces, they always say, I've been watching you for a while. And then they act. So you all see the action, but they tell us we've been watching for a while. So just know that, ladies, we don't know everything. So be careful if you think it has to make sense to you the way you would do it. KM Hart says, the older woman told me I don't need to be married to have kids. I was taught to run the household. I was engaged in my 20s, and my mom told me I was young. And wait, this breaks my heart in so many pieces because you're not alone. I have heard it. I have heard it from YouTubers. I have heard it from women out there telling women, don't rush, enjoy your life. Like the late great Kevin Samuels used to say, all of those experiences that you would have out there, what benefit is it to the husband that you want? Now, again, the disclaimer, marriage isn't for everyone. And if you want to be a boss babe or whatnot, I mean it sincerely, do that. But just know that you're signing up to do that until 65. I'm not trying to do that until 65. So a couple things to KM's point.
Okay,
I was
hold on
married.
one second. One
Yes.
second. French Turner, thank you so much for the cash app. Oh my goodness. Thank you, my brother. French Turner, we've been together since Kevin Samuels. He was one of the moderators too. So thank you so much for this precious gift.
Thank you so much, Wrench Turner. Y'all, please support him. He's also a content creator. And in this episode, I always link the Kevin Samuels episode that we respond to in the description. And you'll hear Kevin saying, shout out to Wrench Turner. So a lot of you all have been with Kevin's content for many, many years. And I will always continue to keep his legacy alive. Kevin changed my life. I booked a session with him because I wanted to help. I was one of those women that was just minding my business, comfortable in my cul-de-sac, don't bother me and I won't bother y'all. But every time he said, I can't do this, where are the older women to teach the young? I was like, okay, fine. So thank you, Wrench Turner. Thank you. But I wanted to respond to this. I was engaged in my 20s. I was married at 25, ladies, and I am so glad that I did. I met my ex-husband the summer before college. He was my one college boyfriend, and we married after college. You don't need a lot of experiences. You can do all of that with your husband. You can travel, you can have fun, you can do all of those things. And it's very important to men. Lucy talked about this. It's very important to men that they feel like they can teach you something, that they can have some firsts with you, that you're not just okay, I got all that out of my system. Now, what have you got? Like, no, that's not what men want. So, for any women who want to marry young, I would absolutely do it again. And yeah, what would you say to that, Lucy?
And again, you can marry young and come to an agreement that while you're learning about each other in that relationship, you can also maybe take classes online, learn how to cook, be a chef, or just find ways to also engage yourself, because you also don't want to not engage your mind and learn more things. But again, I I promise you that once you get into that marriage, you can work it out that you can also uh, get your associates or your bachelor's or your master's during your relationship, your marriage with your husband. I don't think it's something that he will ever say no, don't do it. Again, you got to find the time, and you got to, it's one of those give and take, but you can do it. But there's no better compliment that you can give your husband than to say, wow, you showed me something different. I had no idea this existed. I had no idea that there was this country that we traveled to that was so beautiful. Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for giving me this experience. They want that. They want to be our heroes.
Absolutely. Shout out to Bella Rings. I know she's been talking about the wife resume on her channel. She's also a content creator. She says, I'm a housewife and stay at home mom. It is work. It absolutely is work, ladies. And one thing to keep in mind, I'll never forget this. Years ago, I remember I was selected for jury duty or the process. They didn't actually pick me, but I shout out to the pick me's. Where did I see it? Yes, proud pick me here. But I remember there was this process in the jury selection where we all had to stand up and say the type of work that we do, because I guess both sides were looking to have, whatever type of composition in the jury. And I work in tech, and so I stood up and I said what I did. And I remember this older man stood up, and I think we were just supposed to give some particulars about, your family, married, kids, whatnot. And he stood up and he said, I am whatever, I'm making it up. Let's say he was 50 or 60. He was some type of like work with his hands. Maybe he was a welder or something. And he said, I got a wife. We have 3 grown kids. She hasn't worked since we've been married. And, he was just saying his thing. When he said she hasn't worked, you could just feel the women in the courtroom like, oh. And I remember I was young. I was in, like my first few jobs out of college, and I was still in that, like, just like a man, I can do everything. And I remember these women around me like almost swooning. And I just, it's our natural instinct, ladies. And, one thing that I'll say, Kevin always used to say, you only need one. And I know we've kind of talked about this social media space, and I saw Tata was saying the same thing. Social media can make it hard. Ladies, you have to be careful about wanting all of this attention from so many sources. All you really need is one. I can get compliments from everybody in the world, but when my man tells me this food tastes good or you look beautiful or whatever, it means so much more. So instead of trying to get, the likes and the views and all of that, when you put your focus into the relationship with someone who has sworn to like protect and provide and shows up for you, that just, it's a feeling I can't even explain. So young ladies especially, I know in this social media age, it seems like, because this is right at our fingertips, it seems like it's real. It's not real. What's real is the life that you create with the real people around you. So just keep that in mind. And, it doesn't, on the flip side of that, it doesn't matter if everyone else says, you're, a slave or in the apron and cooking all day. Like if your husband appreciates that, like they can say whatever they want to because his vote in my opinion, is the one that matters. What would you say to that, Lucy?
I absolutely agree. And it's funny you say that because anytime we have kind of like a family gathering, I'm always fussing about what I'm going to wear because, my sisters are going to be wearing this and that. And when he looks at me and he says, "Baby, you are beautiful to me." That's all that matters. That stops me from fussing because I feel that my mom is going to say something, my sister's not. So again, he centers me because he's the one that is he's my one. So again, to have that one person that will support you no matter what, it's something that um should be treasured and should be cherished and should be looked forward to, because again, to find that special person that will be with you for better for worse till death do you part, it's amazing.
Ah, it's absolutely amazing. All right, so we have one last question. I love this. Bella Ring says her husband is 8 years her senior. And yes, ladies, so we do recommend that if you want to be married and have family right now, because usually that's the gap where a man is actually ready for that responsibility. Yes, you can marry someone your age, but that just means you're going to be waiting a while for him to arrive. And maybe you're doing that 50-50 thing. Maybe that works out for you. But we all have experience dating anywhere from like, or marrying like 8, 9 years older. KM says, I am 37. I have to freeze my eggs. The men I meet don't want to be married. The guys I dated, I had to take care of them, work 2 jobs, and then they leave me. What should I do differently? You really want my advice? I'm trying to choose my words wisely. Ladies, we have to be more selective. This right here about I had to take care of them and work 2 jobs. No, you didn't. You chose to do that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Unfortunately, and we've all had our heart broken. We've all had, disappointment in relationship. But if you are dating with intention, if you are clear about who you want to be in the relationship, if you know what your principles are and what you stand on, then you are okay that your pool to choose from is smaller, but you only date quality men. I've told y'all from the beginning, I'm a relationship girl. There's no point for me to try something casual because I'm going to want to make it a relationship. So what does that mean for me? I only date relationship minded men. So I'm going to push back a little bit and say, you didn't have to work 2 jobs and take care of a man. He wasn't a man if you were providing for him. Of course, in marriage, sometimes, we do things, but you weren't married to him. You chose to do that. And now you're running out of time. And I'm sorry. And I hate that the world that we live in has told ladies that that's okay. But ladies, sometimes that means we have to be set apart. Sometimes that means we can't do all the things and go all the places, but we wait until the caliber of man that we can see as husband material is vetting us. Then you give him everything and not anybody else. What would you say, Lucy?
I agree, and that comes with um the first date. The Look at those red flags. Did he pay for it? Did he say let's go 50-50, or did he forget his wallet? So those things on the first and second date, you start knowing whether that man is a quality person. So again, that's why usually you date with intention. On the first one, if he shows you that there's something not quite right, it was nice meeting you, and then you move on. You don't provide anything else. Nothing intimate or anything like that. At least not in my world. The first date, if it didn't work out, then we said goodbye. Then we moved on to somebody that would meet both our needs.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, that was our response. I'm just checking the chat to see if I missed any questions. We'd like to keep these for an hour. Yes, keep it real. Thank you, KM Hart. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being a little harsh, but Auntie Maggie and Tia Lucy, like we have to give it to you. Neither of us have daughters, so we've got to give it to you, ladies, and rattle those cages and let you know, hey, wake up. Ah, yes, there are males and there are men. Yeah. So ladies, what's the takeaway here as we close out? You can learn, if you didn't get it from home, number one, hopefully you got it from home. You were learning something. You weren't just watching your mom do, whatever and suffer. Hopefully you were learning and picking that up. If you didn't, know that you are behind the eight ball. Is it the end of the world? No, you can seek it out, but you're going to have to stop doing some things in order to make up for what's missing. If you want marriage and relationship, if you want to be part of the workforce and grind until you're 65, go for it. And I mean that. There are some women, very few that I've met, that have no interest in marriage and family, but it is rare. And what I always tell young ladies is, if you feel that is what you want, don't beat it back. It's only going to get louder and more pronounced the older that you get. And, I don't want you to be, I'll just use KM as an example. I don't want you to get to a point where now you're desperate and you're having to take desperate measures because you didn't choose wisely. Oh my goodness. All right. So we won't get to everything. Oh my goodness. No, 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 no. I'm done. Lucy, what would you say to close us out?
There is hope, though. I can tell you, I married the second time. I was 41 years old, and but I was fit, feminine, and friendly, and he thought I was 30. So again, you got to keep yourself better than the same person, the same woman that's next to you, because again, they're going to be making a choice. Do I want to choose this one, or do I want to choose that one? Do I want to choose the one that looks like she's 30, or do I want to choose the one that looks like she's 42 going on 50? So again, that's one of the things. If you're an older woman, you have to keep yourself looking great to catch that one perfect guy.
So with that note, yes, thank you all so much for watching, and I 100% agree. Hopefully we got to all of your comments and questions, and if you want to book a session with me, you can go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. Lucy and I are also here, usually on Wednesdays, doing an Ask Us Anything. And if you all missed it, our most recent episode that you can find on both of our channels, we went over a relationship scorecard that we put together that will at least give you a baseline of the qualities that are important to men. And I love what Lucy said about keeping yourself up. We are both older women, aging gracefully, I would think so, but it is important. Yes, all those inner qualities are important, but we will not discount the fact that men are visual. They do know that we're going to age, but you can absolutely age gracefully if you take care of yourself. But ladies, the key is you need to make sure that you are showing up in a way that is attractive to the kind of man that you want for marriage and long term. And if you are not being vetted by those men, then you are not either a wife to them or a wife yet. And I will close out with a quote that my man told me this week. And I told my ladies in consult, don't just be the woman that he says, yeah, I could live with her. Be the woman that he says, man, can't live without her. That's who you want to be in his life so that he moves swiftly to claim you as his own. Anything other than that, you still got some work to do. And we're all a work in progress, and we will be here. The Wives Club is here for you all every Friday night. We're always responding to a Kevin Samuels episode. Please watch it. The link is in the description. You can find me on Maggie the Substitute Teacher. You can find Lucy on her channel. And until next time, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate you, and we will see you all next time.
Adios.
Adios.